There we go. All right. Got that squared away. Okay. So, anywho, hey, TikTok, welcome back. Welcome back, TikTok. Glad to be here. Back on TikTok. Made some decisions. And we'll leave it at that. I'm back on TikTok live. Like the cup. So we got a lot to talk about, man. For those of you who have been following me throughout the years, Daddy's Right Here has been on screen since 2007. The name of the show has changed. I've tried different formats of how to do the show. It was Soft Spot. Went to the Y's view, which was Y as in Y chromosome. So it was myself and a couple of other males who were on the show, and I really enjoyed that show. I want to talk to the guys and see if maybe we can get together periodically, to be able to do a show with the brothers, from up in Philly. I'm born and bred in Philly, but get them back on the show. To try to do, what we used to do. But it's been different names. But that's not what I'm here to talk about today. Let's just go right into it. Parental alienation. It sounds almost like a sci-fi movie title. Parental alienation. Yeah. What is parental alienation? Well, let me first say something that's very serious. It's very serious. It's something that happens quite often. It's something that that fathers don't confront. When it's confronted, it's usually confronted toward the mother of the child, because she's not allowing him to participate, because she has taken control over the situation, because now it's my child, it's not our child. The whole language thing the wording begins to change. The closer delivery time comes, things begin to change, right? But there's a story that precedes all of this that nobody talks about publicly and don't speak about it candidly. Well, welcome to Daddy's Right Here Live, where it's talked about candidly. I'm not, if you're thin-skinned, if you're sensitive about life itself, this ain't the show for you. I'm going to tell you right now. This is not the show for you. This is not. I'm 65 years old, right? I have 6 daughters. I have 3 granddaughters. And grandsons. 3 grandsons, right? But of the 6 daughters I have, 4 of them are my biological daughters. So before all of this stuff happened, before all this old extra stuff that you guys, you women, mothers have to say about our fathers, let me go back and let me tell you my story. And let me see if you can relate. At 15 years old, I was pretty much in the street. Mother didn't put me out. She said, listen, I got to go to work. I don't have time to be getting up in the middle of my sleep, to be coming down to open the door to let you in, because you haven't come in by the time I go to bed. It's disrespectful. Not a problem. I made a conscious decision on most nights. at the age of 15, 16 to not be in the house on time. Plain and simple. Now, she let me in quite a few times, but then disrespectful of my mother was just not something I'm made up of. I'm not cut from that cloth to disrespect my mother. Understand? So when it did get to the point where I wanted to disrespect her because of her confronting me about something that I was totally innocent of, many, 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 many years later, she figured that out. But at that point, when I felt like I wanted to be disrespectful towards her, I left her house. I'm talking about me. So I was pillar to post. Some nights I was on the street, just roamed the streets all night long. I had an old head, Boo, who I hung with. He always looked after me, always made sure I was good. We were together all the time. I had a friend, Buddy. May the Creator continue to bless him. May he have been granted paradise. My road dog from, I don't know how young, but we always hung together. But then I had the old head. And the old head, he was always out all times of night, all times early, wait in the morning and stuff like that. And I hung with him. So, he would bring me in his house on a lot of nights. I would, sit in his crib and just, get some shut eye, get off the street, right? While his people were upstairs asleep. I would have to roll out before mom got up to go to work, and that was cool, but he always looked out for me. But I was always on the street. I was always staying at this person's house, staying at that person's house because I just didn't want to be home. Plain and simple. We ain't got to go into no story about that, but that's where I was. So my life was the hustler lifestyle, right? I was selling things, keeping food on the table, but I always had a job. Let's be clear. I always had a job. I had working papers at the age of 13, but 9, 10 years old, I was out with my Uncle Frank, cutting grass, exterminating, all kind of little odds and ends, helping him do things and learning to do very things. I can pretty much build a house. I'll mess with everything but gas, right? So here I am working, papers, doing my thing, staying here, staying there, staying with this girl, staying with this dude, and these friends, and so on and so forth. And that was my life. That was my life. All the way up till all the way up to 94. April 17th, 1994, I walked away from the drugs, the alcohol, the streets, all that whole business. I walked away from all of that. But prior to all of that, I was just doing me. 15 years old, mind you. I got clean 34. At 34, right? But at 24, I got married. Now, mind you, who would want to marry me? I wouldn't have wanted to marry me. I had nothing. I was living pillar to post. I was jabbing everything I could. But then there was more I could have, but didn't, because I wasn't that kind of dude. I valued friendships. I valued human life. Always. Always. I was never a disrespectful person. I was never some bad dude. I didn't go around robbing and all that stuff. I carried. Yes, I did. And if you were in high school with me, in high school, I carried. I grew up in Wilson Park Project. I went to school, right? One in elementary school, race division. Junior high, race division. High school, race division. But more exposure, to black gangs. I hung with people from different corners, right? That came to the Jets. right? I always had people who looked out for me because they knew how I rode. I didn't bother nobody. Nobody bothered me. 65 years old. I ain't had a fight since 1977. I always roll solo unless I'm with the family. If I ain't with the wife and kids, sometimes me and my brother connect, but I'm always with family. Wherever my stomping grounds are, I'm always solo. Nobody bothers me. I don't bother anybody. Plain and simple. But I've always been in the street. I'm not that dude. But I became that dude because of the lifestyle, because of the places that I frequented. So when I met my first wife, right? Because I always ask her this question. I said, what did you see in me? I said, it was a bum. I owned nothing. What I had could fit in 2 lawn and leaf bags, maybe 1.5 lawn and leaf bags. And that's how I rolled. That's how I rolled. Wanting to do my own thing. And was pretty comfortable because I didn't have to deal with all this. I didn't have to be disrespectful towards mom. I didn't have to take her through no changes, even though I took her through more changes because she didn't know where I was for years. For years, she didn't know where I was. Every now and then I check in, hey, what's going on? You know, hey, what's happening? I was doing my own thing. But nobody knew who I had become. Because I'm quiet, I'm laid back. I don't, you know. I stand out by look. I don't stand out by action. You know, that's stupid, man. Why don't you just walk away from that? So at 24, I got married. I knew that there was value in marriage. I didn't have a whole lot of great examples. The only real great examples that I had were my grandparents, my grandmother and grandfather. Because no matter what, she still, even after, she still got up every morning, faithfully, fixed him breakfast. He had dinner waiting for him. Like it was like clockwork. He'd get home this time, he'd go and do what he gonna do. He'd come down and bam, there's dinner. Get up in the morning, he'd come down and bam, there's breakfast. If he was home that day, it was on the weekend, bam, there's lunch. Best examples. I'm not saying everybody else was bad examples. I'm saying the best of examples I had. But something inside of me told me that marriage would add value to me in the sense of where I was trying to go. Stepping on this and climbing over that and stumbling had nothing to do with it. Right? Running backs are taught in football. No matter what, keep them feet moving. No matter how many times you get hit, how hard you get hit, keep them feet moving. See, there were certain philosophies that I held on to and I kept moving. Yeah. And then when marriage didn't work for me, I tried the military and I wound up, I did great. I couldn't get the simple thing in advanced training was I could not get this damn address right. It had all this stuff written in its address and all these things. And I kept missing one damn thing in the address. So the chief of one officer 4 at the time said, hey, listen, Private, you got a whole lot going on, right? Maybe the best thing for you to do is to go home and come back. And on those words alone, just before I hit 6 months, I went home. But then about a year later, they came to the crib, right? And offered me a rank upgrade and a bonus to come back in. And by then I was already in the mouth of madness. I wasn't trying to do, nah, I'm good. But I say all that to say that nothing in what I just said to you, because now you're looking at me, you're listening, nothing I said to you indicated he'll be a good father. Nothing I said indicated that I would be a good father. Nothing. Nothing. If anything, if I'm having that conversation as a woman with me, nah, you make sure you put something on that thing. You need to wrap that thing up. Nah, I'm on BC, but nah. I never got told that. In all the years of my life. In all the years of my life. Yeah. I didn't do the prostitute thing, so I don't, right? But in all the years of my life, I don't remember how many times using the condom, except like after somebody had a baby. And I have a whole lot of somebody's having babies, but that we're gonna get to that too. So I gave you my story, right? But let me give you some more to that story. Before April 17th of 1994. Got a sister pregnant. Didn't love her. We were just messing around. We was boyfriend and girlfriend. She got pregnant, and in her 7th month, she got into a fight with somebody, and she lost the baby. Yeah, she wound up losing the baby. She didn't avoid the fight. That's not who she was. She was a fighter. She liked to fight. She didn't step away from the situation. She went all in. She lost the baby. Another time I was with someone who aborted a child, didn't tell me anything about it. She came home one day. I was wondering why she wasn't at work. She came home one day. I was in my Mad Max mode, but there was something about like her whole aura that like, oh, hey, it made me like get out of that zone. Like, what's going on? Because she looked very sad, very dejected. I'm like, you still had an abortion. You had an abortion. I didn't even know you were pregnant. I didn't tell you, but you're still with me. You didn't leave the relationship. You just aborted a life. You aborted a life, right? And listen, it's a terrible thing for a person, a man, to be faced with somebody was willing to take the life of another because they dreaded life with you. It's a terrible thing, man. Like you loathe me, you despise me that much that you would abort a child? Really? But you didn't leave. You're still here. I didn't hold you hostage. And we stayed together for a minute after that. But it speaks volumes of the content of the relationship. If you still continue to have unprotected sex with me, you continue to allow me to live in the home with you, you continue to act like it's all good. So that means you will get rid of one and then get rid of another because you didn't want to have a child by me. It wasn't that you didn't want to have a child. You wanted a child, but you didn't want to have a child by me. Moving forward, years later, and this was after April 17th of 1994. This was somewhere around early 2000. I've been seeing this person for some time. She was okay with certain things that I wasn't okay with. When people start talking about male friends and male friends being cool and so on and so forth, nah. She had a friend who had been in her life for years, through thick and thin. According to her, they had only tried it once. But that relationship just was not cool with me. And I forgot what it was. Something was happening. One of the kids' birthday, because the two of their kids were close friends, and I had lost my job. That's a whole nother story. I'd never experienced that before, man. It's like devastating. But then the same thing, I had recently separated from one of my wives at the time, and I was living in a duplex. My brother owned the building. I was living downstairs, and I lost the job, and I really went through it. And sure, I'm sure I wasn't the best person at that time, but like, at what point would you think that empathy, even sympathy, would have kicked in for her? But she said I was being an asshole and so on and so forth, and I very well might have been, but I wasn't an asshole before that. So to begin to think about, like, damn, he must be really going through, or to have that conversation with me, but to just treat me in a manner, okay, so you begin to show your level of commitment. I don't need anybody in my life, especially somebody who is supposed to be my woman, who doesn't express any level of empathy about what I had just been subjected to as a man, which I had never been through in my life. And here I am, and I told y'all where I came from. Here I'm in this position where I separated from this marriage that was no good for me. And in the position where, like, my brother owned the building, I could have very well, stayed there, and and my brother would have made sure I was good and all that, and it was his building, whatnot. He would have. But for me as a man, like, I'm not putting that on my brother to have to take care of me, a grown man, and until I find something, because finding a job is not easy. I was on unemployment for a whole year and still looking for a job. It took me a year. It was like the same week that I got this job was the same week my benefits were going to end. So I just went through a whole lot of changes, and at no point did I get any empathy or sympathy for what it was that I was experiencing. Not dependent on the woman to take care of me, and she has a child too. No, you don't. Nah, that's not me, right? But then having to take care of myself, being able to do the things. I got a car. I got to pay a car note. I got to get gas to get back and forth to work. I got rent. I got utilities. Got all these things. I can't pay them. So, her and I, we parted ways. But then at some point, it's about a year, maybe about a year or so later, we ran into each other, and sitting in the car talking, and she told me that she had gotten pregnant during this period of my hell, and that she had aborted the child. My whole soul just dropped. And I'm like, we was cool. I mean, really, we were cool. We had great times together. We had a lot of fun together. She understood a lot of things about me. And she told me she was pregnant and she had gotten rid of the child. I'm like, you got what? Because I guess, well, again, a couple of years had passed. I'm like, what? And she said, yeah. She said, because you were being such an asshole, man. And there are some things you argue about, and some things you just don't. Ain't no point. I just looked at her, and at that point, I didn't have anything else to talk about. I'm gonna holler at you here. All right, you're gonna say what? So when I look at those kinds of things, right? It's like, wow, you dislike a person that much, but you will continue to stay with them. You will be happy to be with them, but just not have a child by them. But continue to lay up with me. See, because it's always about performing. And that's one of the that's one of the major problems for males. Our conditioning, our poor conditioning. A rabbit with one hole is a silly rabbit. Me having sex at the age of 13 with a 21, 22-year-old is a attaboy. We're conditioned to be performers. I just need you to hit it. That's all I need. I don't need that. No. You really don't, but then you hit it right because that was part of the conditioning too. You wanted to keep me, you wanted to be around for a while, you got to hit it right. You know what I mean? So it's always perform. And we become conditioned to perform, diminishing the true value that we have as human beings, desecrating the true power we have being in his image and his likeness, having 99 of his attributes, because only one gets all, the Most High. There's just one. So in understanding that aspect, you look at it, what are we actually needed for? We don't know. We don't know. We're groomed as such that we don't know. Even the most learned, the most intellectual man, male, has not risen above that and remains there and brandishes it. Pictures with this woman and that woman and so on and so forth, and all this is brandished to be as such. But we're just performers. That's all. Because all the things that I just talked about, nowhere in there did you hear, I'm going to repeat this over and over again. Did you see or hear? He looks like a good father. Yeah. Yeah, he could father my children. No. No, nowhere in there. Hell, you couldn't even convince me that I look like a good father. I knew I wasn't a good father. A good what? Shit, I was still trying to be a good person. I was still in the mouth of madness. I was still in the zone. Hey, fatherhood never popped into my mind. Especially if he ain't there. But I had males around me who looked out for me. I had neighbors. I had Uncle Frank. I had Uncle John, Uncle Ray, Mr. Carl, Mr. Cookie. I had people who looked out for me. I had old heads in the neighborhood. People looked out for me. I felt cared for. Absence? What absence? I didn't experience father absence. I don't know what that is. I don't know what that feels like. I only know what I was told by other people. All the, the people who have all these opinions. The ones who have all the opinions about what a father is, what a father should be. The child who thinks that a father should do this and a father is supposed to do that. And all this other stuff that we come up with as children that we think that a parent is supposed to do. And we get angry at our parents because we don't get that. Well, Johnny got those sneakers. Why can't I get them? Now you're mad. And that same pettiness comes into adulthood. The same pettiness. You're an adult now and you're still petty. But you don't want to admit to that. And you want to be offended because I'm sitting here telling you you're petty. when you are. Many males and many females haven't shaken off the girl and boy of them. They're still girls and boys. But I dare not call you such. I dare not say that you're acting like one, because then you get even more aroused. But that's exactly what it is. So nobody's asking the question. Nobody's sitting around. You can't possibly tell me, show me the receipts. Listen to what I'm saying to you. There's no way in hell we can have all of these households, these households that are empty of fathers. And then each one of the mothers made a decision to cut the father off. You can't tell me that didn't that happened. Let me rephrase that because it sounds wrongly worded. You cannot convince me that all of these households that do not have a father involved don't have to be living there. But you can't tell me that the decision came with a fight. Because in most cases, y'all don't even want the Negro. And father absenteeism is across the board. It's across the board. It's not just the Black family. But the Black family has suffered immensely from the absence. And if you get my book, Code to Black, you'll be able to see what I wrote in 2013 in that book. Well, the book was released in 2013, so I was writing it before that. Because in 2005, I did my thesis project on fathers transitioning from state correctional institutions back home to the family. Right? But you made a conscious decision to sleep with somebody who provided you all the evidence contrary to what the expectation is after birth. Yeah, I didn't meet the qualifications before birth. What did you think was going to happen after the birth? That I was going to, what? What was going to happen after? Like I was going to become new and improved, saved, or take my shahada and become a new man? Everything is a process. The things that you keep expecting to be eventful, right? You want this. Everything is a process. Everything is a process. I am far away from that dude you got pregnant by, but it didn't matter. It didn't matter. It didn't matter to anyone. The only one who can say with receipts that I work hard at being a good person, I work hard at being a good father figure, is my current wife. She's the only one. Because of what relationship I have with her children. Now, granted, it's an expectation just like anybody else. I'm telling you, the only person who can say with validity, I know Sabir, I know of Sabir, I've experienced Sabir, I've observed Sabir in this capacity. Again, I'm in a different capacity than I was 40 years ago. So much so that God saw fit to give me another baby at 61. Yeah, I have a 3-year-old. but I should listen to you. I should go on what you say about me. That's what I should ride on. And see, when people look at life, they look at life through their own tarnished and blemished lives. I give honor and praise to God, not man. I don't bow down to any man. None. I fear no man. If I was such a horrible person, why did you sleep with me without protection? What does that say about you? I just wanted to give you a picture. See, if you want to get real about all of this, if you want to get real about father absenteeism, if you want to get real about what needs to be said to free our children, and stop trying to make yourself the mom of the year, daddy of the year, confront you. Confront you. Confront you in the presence of your child. I'm okay with being the bad guy who wasn't shit back then. I'm okay with all of that because I wasn't. I wasn't. I'm okay with saying that. I'm not grieving that I was such a shitty person back then. No, listen, it is what it is. That's my path. That's my path. But when is the last time you took an honest appraisal of your own damn conduct? Think about it. If I tell you the truth, because I don't have anything to hide, if I tell you the truth as my child, it's up to you to accept whether it's the truth or not. But we're going to get to this list of parental alienation because children are forced to make decisions. Children are forced into absorbing your stuff. That's why I'm thankful that I took the time to build a relationship with my father after over 25 years of his absence. We keep talking about abandonment. There's abandonment and there's alienation. Abandonment is I just walked away. I walked away from the responsibility. I walked away from the child's mother. I never walked away from anybody. I never walked away from anybody. Never. I never walked away from my marriages. I never walked out of my children's lives. I never walked away from anybody. And if you want to come, bring receipts. I never walked away from any of my marriages. I stuck them through until it was time to go. And I said, it's time to go. I never walked out on anybody, ever. Now, when you talk about absence, absence is something different. There are people who are presently with their families and are still absent. Are still absent. Physically absent, emotionally absent. You can still live in the same house, in and out, in and out, in and out, no interaction. You can still do all those things. No hugs and kisses, none of those things. I wasn't capable. I didn't have the capacity. Hugging and kissing wasn't what we were doing in the street. Right? My mother was firm. Plain and simple. My absence, emotionally absent, because I couldn't lock into, because I locked into the street. Locked into the street. Move differently in the street than you do in the house. But when you're in the streets, you're gonna move the same way. You can't, it don't turn on and turn off. It's always there. It's always present. It's always there. Right? Like a cop doesn't turn off being a cop because he's not on duty. Even after retirement. I follow somebody on one of my social media feeds, and that's what he talks about. He talks about former law enforcement. He talks about when officers retire and the burden that they still bear of being a cop. Right? As a drug dealer, you out on the corner clocking. Right? You controlling the movement. You controlling the corner. You control who does what. You looking out for the sticker boys. You're looking out for the police. All of that stuff. I had all of that in me. What was your expectation? I paid my bills that way. I lived that way. That's how I took care of myself. That's how I had this, and this is how I did that. Because that, and then you think that I'm supposed to stop, that I'm going to stop doing this because, but you made the decision. You saw me snorting. Hell, you gave me some. But you make a conscious decision to not help. My issue was I didn't fight hard enough for mine. I was in the mouth of madness. Look up one day, they gone. Did whatever I could do that my capacity allowed me to do. I didn't fight hard enough because I didn't think I was worthy because of where I was. Right? I should have tried harder. There's fathers out there who feel the same way because of how they were treated. Now, up until that point, I didn't. Good. And then one day, and now I'm a different person now. Now I'm a person who's like didn't this and didn't that and like all this other stuff. Like, right? When you meet a person and you make a decision to involve yourself with the person, first of all, without practicing safe sex, you should be damn sure clear that if one of them little guys escapes and gets into prison, no, I'm kidding, but you should be clear on that before having sex. You should be clear on that. That's anybody. If you are going to have sex without using protection, you should know a whole lot of things about that person. It doesn't matter. So if I impregnate someone knowing damn right well I ain't gonna be there forever, that's what we do. But if I'm doing that, how dare I turn around after getting someone pregnant or after getting pregnant, say all these nasty things about people, send all these nasty grams to me, send these nasty grams to the courts and all the kind of stuff. Who are you? When did God put you in charge of my morals? Where are yours? It's always a rationalization and justification of your bad behavior. It's always that way. It's always going to be that way. That's not going to change. My sins aren't measured by you. Your sins aren't less than or greater than mine. A sin is a sin. It doesn't make sense. But then what happens is, it's just like what you see that goes on in the world every day, right? I don't believe most of what happens in the world that's shown on TV. Most. Just think for a minute. Everything that we claim to know has come from another source. Isn't it funny how millions of people, billions of people have phones, but all these events that happen, especially that you've been seeing over the past 6 months, you only see through one lens. While everybody sits back and fights and defends and is so proud of the United States for doing this, so proud of, oh, they should need to. Oh, but wait a minute, we were just going in there to save the people from their government. And how do we get here now? That now all this is happening where they can all just lose their lives. But we sit here, we live in a world of pick a side. That's the world we live in, pick a side. What do you think is the truth? And that's what I want you to rock with. If you've never been there, you didn't have firsthand experience. Most of y'all have never seen Iran on a map, let alone, know about Iranian people. In the same way with blacks and whites and all this other stupidity that you people waste all this effort and energy on. You knew absolutely nothing about me. You know absolutely nothing about dude other than, yeah, he's at the club on Fridays. Yeah, I usually see him in there. Yeah, he been looking all slick and fly. I know he drive that E-Class. Yeah, And that girl, oh man, she got that. Oh, right? We go for all these things. But not once does it come up in our mind, I wonder will she make a good mother? And the ones who do have it come into their mind, yeah, I would put that on lockdown. Yeah, put her on lockdown. I'm go get the other, put her on lockdown. Put that one on lockdown too. Yeah, come on, man. It's my baby mama. The whole tone, the whole aura of it. Parental alienation. Provinziano and Associates, family law attorneys, has this article. Yeah, law attorneys, family law attorneys, about child custody. That's what this article is about, child custody. The 17 signs of parental alienation you shouldn't ignore. So if I'm reading this from a law associates article, what does that tell you? What you're doing has legal consequences. Has legal consequences. Now, you have to check the state's position because each state has different things in place but you need to have an understanding. You need to have an understanding of what parental alienation looks like should you need to go to court. Should you be one who is subjected to this kind of behavior. But also bear in mind that you throw everything out the window when you match the behavior that you haven't put upon you and your child. The pen is mightier than the sword. Always remember that. The pen is always mightier than the sword. I've told staff throughout all my years as a supervisor, I hear you. Did you read the policy and procedure manual? What does the employee handbook say about that? Right? Because when I addressed you, I'm coming to you with that policy and procedure in mind. You have to understand everything about family law before you start doing this, right? You see yourself heading in that direction, stop. Go to a family law attorney. You can get free consultation. You can get directed to the law library and look under family law. Make sure it's current. This article was published November 18th, 2025. Okay? This ain't no 1976 article. This is 2025 from Provinziano and Associates. Okay? So let's go to the article. If your child suddenly seems afraid of you, won't speak to you, or parrots accusations that sound nothing like their own words, something deeper may be going on. One of the hardest truths in a custody dispute is that a child's rejection isn't always rooted in their own experience. It may happen because one parent influences the child's feelings toward the other parent. A behavior often called parental alienation by family law professionals. This blog breaks down the 17 most recognized signs of parental alienation. It explains how California courts interpret them and offers practical strategies to reduce the damage and protect your relationship with your child. Yeah, your relationship with your child. That's what it does. Practices. That's what it is. All right, hold on a second here. We're going to take a quick break. I got to go to the potty. Be back in a minute. Stay tuned. What's happening with TikTok here? TikTok always giving me a hard time, man. What's happening? We have detected inactivity during your current live. Complete the verification to continue your live. How y'all detect inactivity if I'm sitting right here? I don't get that part. I don't. But listen, if you're on TikTok, Jump on over to, I didn't even see it. I was so flowed with this. Jump on over to my Facebook page. Yeah. Alim for you. ALIM, the number 4, the letter U. I'm on Facebook now if you want to hear the rest of this show, because we're going to go down this list of 17 items regarding parental alienation. Thank you so much for tuning in. I can't get this thing to go where it needs to go, and every time I go out, I lose everybody. But I'm going to try it anyway. But if you lose me, right, go on over to my Facebook page right now and join the show, because it's not giving me the option to. Hold on. Hey, you guys on the other channels, hold on for 1 minute. I am trying to get back on TikTok. They often give you this. Hold on. Let me see if I can't go back on. Let me see if I can get back on. I'm going to just jump back on. Hopefully I can pick them up. All right, there we go. Woo! All right, here we go. So, yeah, let me stop this one. So we're gonna go over this list. I doubt if we do all 17 because it's 11:10. You know, I like to make sure that when I do shows, I like to make sure that you have a very clear picture in your mind of what the subject matter is about and creating relatability. It may not always be the best means to relate, the most comfortable, but this is not about making you comfortable. I'm not trying to make anybody comfortable. I'm not trying to make anybody uncomfortable. But if you want to grow, if you want to mature and develop and raise to another level of consciousness, because I'm gonna keep talking about conscious. The conscious part is the surface stuff. Yeah, it's all the false stuff, the fake stuff, the stuff that you've convinced yourself that is real and it isn't. And then you have the subconscious, which is the mediary, the one who kind of gets in between your id and your super ego. You know, so look those things up. When I'm giving you that information, it's up to you to look it up. You know, again, I'm not trying to stir up anything other than, you know, what exists. If it doesn't exist within you, if it doesn't apply, it's old school stuff. It just makes sense. But if you feel bothered by it, if you feel annoyed by it, okay, you need to ask yourself why. Don't question me. Don't challenge me. I'm telling you the way it is. I'm telling you what my experience has been. I'm telling you what my experience is as a professional, a person who is credentialed. I'm telling you as a person who is experienced it. I don't think there's anything I've ever presented on any of my shows that I didn't have personal experience with. Period. So if you feel uncomfortable, you should. That's what I'm going to tell you. You should feel uncomfortable. Right? If you feel argumentative or confrontational, you need to ask yourself why. Why is it bothering you so much? And the response usually is, well, because she this, or because he this. That has nothing to do with you. You've given person that much power over you that they can do this and you act that way, and you don't see anything wrong with that thinking. Okay. You keep riding on that one. You keep riding on that one. Okay, so let's go to this. What is parental alienation and why is it so damaging? Back to the article from Provinziano and Associates, family law attorneys. Parental alienation happens when one parent, intentionally or not, turns a child against the other parent through criticism, pressure, or emotional manipulation. Intentionally or not. Okay? See, when you knowingly do that, and this is where when you start looking at the legal aspects of this, you have to start looking at how do you prove intentional. But the first thing you need to do is stop arguing and ask questions. So the questions that you're going to be asked, possibly in court by an attorney, you can answer. You understand this? So when I go down this list, you should be taking a look at your current status of the relationship between you and the other parent. The other parent. Right? Because now it has to be proven that it's intentional. Let's start with intentional first. Okay? Because usually once you accuse somebody of intentionally doing something, you begin to see whether it is intentional or whether it's unintentional. Because the unintentional is me just defending my position because of what the child has given me, because the child is forced to make a decision as to what parent do I love the most. Who do I hold responsible for the separation? Who do I hold responsible for this whole breakup? Am I responsible? Because that's another level of all of this. Because you may think that you are defending your position in terms of, I wasn't responsible. This is a decision that your dad made. Well, why did dad make that decision? See, we never asked the question. We're just told your father wasn't shit. Your mother was out there in the street messing around. Well, what was happening between y'all two? How did y'all meet? But the first thing you do is you protect yourself. I have the child with me. I take a different position because I need for this relationship to go in a particular direction, because I can't do this. I can't defend him. I can't this, that, and the other. First of all, because I'm still hurt about what happened. I still haven't gotten past the fact that he slept with my girlfriend. But again, it goes back to the beginning of this story. It didn't matter to you. You weren't in the club looking for a father. Well, a father of your child. Sometimes you are. But for real, I'm looking for somebody who would make pretty babies. Oh, he makes some pretty babies. Let me give him some. You never said that? You never heard that said before? What were you looking for? It's a lot in the unintentional part. And I'm not an attorney of family law. So if you're in that situation, give them a call. I'm just giving you some information to lead you in the direction of self-discovery so you can turn around and ask the questions that you need to ask. But you also have to get certain things answered, because if you're asked by an attorney, well, why do you think it's intentional? What evidence can you provide if you're always arguing back? Because when you're arguing back, well, I'm only defending myself from what it is you're saying to me. You're saying some hurtful things to me, so I said these things back to you. Did you say those things? You're under oath. Yeah. Okay. Bam. Next. So when you get into these little conflicts and these little things, remember, it takes two to argue. It takes two to fight. It takes another person to be in conflict, right? When you start talking about family law, when you start talking about legalities of what's happening, okay? Back to the article. They have a case here. Enray John W., 1996. That means in regards to that case. 41 cal.app.4961. That's the code they use for the case. In this case, the court concluded that the mother had induced the child to make false abuse statements and that the child's hostile statements toward the father were not based on abuse, but on manipulation. The result? The appellate court reversed and remanded the custody order. It held that the custody decisions must go to the best interest of the child and that a per se 50-50 time split was not required when one parent's influence severely disrupted the parent-child bond. Okay? And Ray Steiner versus Hosseini, 2004. The trial court found that the mother had poisoned the oldest son against the father and awarded sole custody of the younger son to the father to prevent further alienation. Result, the appellate court held that awarding sole custody to the father for the younger son was well within reason, given the evidence of the mother's actions toward the older son. And it concludes with, children caught in alienation dynamics may struggle with anxiety, depression, trust issues, and identity confusion. In severe cases, they may entirely reject a parent who once nurtured them and not even understand why. Below are 17 warning signs that the rejection you are experiencing may not be coming from your child alone. And again, it's important here to understand that if you are in a situation where you see this happening, you need to pay attention to what's being said. You need to document dates, times, places, people present. You just look at them like they got four heads, internal, all of it, because you're gathering data and you write it all down. And everybody who was there, like after all this, shoot, I'm sorry, what was your name? Oh, okay, John. Yeah. Hey, listen, you take care, all right, John? I'm out. Right? So if you don't know who people are, find out. That's real easy to do. Bob, you have a good day. No, John. Okay. Hey, I'm sorry, Bob. All right, John, nice to meet you. You have to see when you are in the mode of chaos, arguing and confrontation, right? Are your worst enemy. I don't argue with somebody when you already made it clear what's in your hand. What am I arguing with you for? Argue about what? You thought it was okay to talk to me in that capacity. I don't share that thought. Let's go to the list. And we're only going to get to a couple of them because I want to be very clear. You know, this, hey, listen, we'll follow up next week. It's 17, and I know damn right, well, we're not going to get to it. Right? But also I want you to understand this. These shows that I've been doing of late are part of me also developing curriculum. Yeah. Daddy's right here does classes. So right now I'm in the process of further developing curriculum getting it sanctioned by varied entities, and begin to. I'll be doing classes soon. I just haven't found a place here in Florida yet where I want to do the classes, but I'm going to also develop a curriculum, and the curriculum will be available. Yeah, curriculum will be available. So please leave comments. I don't block comments. Put your comment on there. I'm not scared of you. Just remember you wrote it. And just remember who sees it. And just remember you have to answer to everything you do. You have to answer to at some point in time in life. You can't keep escaping it. But hopefully you'll go back and read what you wrote and say, damn, I wrote that. Okay. 17 signs of parental alienation. Number 1. The child repeats adult language or accusations that clearly are not their own. How many times do you hear a child saying things be like, that sounds like something your father would say? That's something your mother would say. Yeah. See, and it's on both sides. I don't need to defend myself. I don't need to defend myself. I told mine my position. I've never bashed anyone. I've never bashed my ex-wives. They are who they are. 2 good people, things just didn't work out. That's life. I never bashed my children's mothers. No. If I tell you my part, you make the choice whether you want to believe it or not. I'm not going to argue back and forth with you about something you don't know, because you don't know. You just took somebody's word. You picked a side. And that's one of the things we have to move away from. Stop defending yourself. If you tell your truth, I'm not going to say the truth because it's your truth. If you tell your truth, then it's up to the child to decide whether or not they want to believe you. But they have to ask themselves one question, and one question only. If it wasn't your experience with me, how can you hold it to be true? If you never sat down and asked me, how could you make it true? Why would you continue to just take the side of one person and not see for yourself? Why didn't you take the information that one gave you and give it to the other and see the response? And answer the question for yourself. That's the society we live in too, man. Like, people say things and you just take and run with it. It's all hearsay if you weren't in it yourself. If you didn't experience it firsthand, right? If you weren't involved in it firsthand, like, because you weren't there before the pregnancy. And then when you get old enough to understand, by that time, you've already been given the information. You've already been fed the information. You've already been conditioned. Nobody came along afterwards and said, hey, this is your father. Here's his number. Call your father. How many times does that happen? How many times do you seek the father out and say, hey, your daughter wants to come see you, or hey, I can use a break. Okay. Let me be the determining factor in this condition. You rather hold on to an old status. Right? So listen to what the child is saying, because you have to be very clear. Ask the child, well, where did you get that from? Who told you that? Who said that to you? Because remember, depending on the age, depending on the judge, depending on the state, they may sit down and have a conversation with the child. If you sitting there doing the same thing the mom is doing and vice versa, ain't gonna matter. Because it's just two fools. So I'm going to make the decision for the best interest of the child, because neither one of you have presented compelling evidence enough for me to go in another direction with this. You live in an efficiency. You live in a 2-bedroom house. Well, there's a bedroom for the child. Where's your bedroom? Oh, I can create this and this. No. The best interest of the child is the one who has the full accommodation. You put yourself in that position. No argument. No argument. You should have had that set up when you start having the visits. You knew there were going to be visits. When you got this, you should have put this in place. It had been there. Now you got 90 days to do it. So now you're under a whole different set of pressures. But all you had to do is, when you made that decision or whatever you was doing, set it up. Just set it up while she was pregnant. If you weren't with her, that should have already been in place. That's what I'm going to think of as a judge. Like, okay, so y'all weren't living together. You were living in the efficiency. She was living in the house. Y'all were living together at some point in time. Okay, but now you've been living in there. You were there when she was pregnant, right? You knew the baby was coming, right? Yes, okay. Why didn't you set all this up before then? Because that's showing effort on your part to establish this. Don't have anything to do with her piss poor behavior, her nasty attitude, nothing. And vice versa. And I'm not going to keep saying vice versa, right? As a father, right, I'm going to speak to the needs of the child from the father's perspective, because as an advocate for fathers, I need to do that. Because fathers are the men, period, are depicted poorly in society across the board. And then we have no support from those who have failed relationships. A relationship fails, but we have no support. You don't need no man. The government done told you you don't need no man. The man don't feel like a man because you don't talk to him like a man, and all those other things. Plain and simple. You don't like my voice? You don't like my perspectives? Move on. But it's real for us. We spend our lives, we take shit to our graves because of what it is that we have put upon us. And nobody says anything about none of that. Right? Okay, so listen, we are at the hour. We're 1 minute past the hour. We're going to continue this conversation because it's important to understand. Are you alienating the other parent? Have you alienated the other parent? It's okay to go apologize. It's okay to go turn around and say, you know what? That's where I was in the moment. We all have places we were in the moment. All of us. We all had certain levels of capacities that we lacked in, that we were more learned and more, we grew up. We done shook off the boy. We done shook off the girl. We're all going to be in that position. When do you turn around and help that other parent have a better relationship with your child by telling the damn truth? Do you know some of them are just waiting to hear the truth? Can somebody tell me the truth? Just tell me the truth. Damn. How hard can that be? You understand what I'm saying? Listen, our children deserve it, don't they? Don't our children need to deserve to hear the truth about what really took place? Even if it's something as simple as saying, you know what, your dad wasn't a bad guy, right? You know, he did his best because that's all I could do at that time. And the same way with the mother. Your mother's not a B, she's not an H, she ain't none of those things, right? I was wrong for saying that. I was wrong for telling you that he did it this way, he did that. No, this is exactly what happened. And I allowed it to happen. I made it happen that way. I didn't do this. I didn't do that. And I should have done better. I should have fought harder. It's an easy thing to say. It's an easy thing to do. And I say it all the time. I own my failure in my being physically absent from the life of one of my daughters. I own that. I can sit here all day long and say this. That's not for me. I'm telling you my position. I didn't have the capacity. I didn't show I had the capacity when her and I were sleeping together every day. I didn't show the capacity when we were just hanging out. Where did I show the capacity to be a good father? Where did it show the capacity that I was a father in any capacity at all? I never showed it. Where did you show that you had the capacity to be a great mother? I didn't look for that. I wasn't looking for any of that. I was looking for the same thing you were looking for, a good time when thinking about pregnancy. And when it came, I didn't know what to do about it, and I kept on doing the best I could. And even the best of us will repeat the same thing. It happens. That is not the time to beat up on another person because they're not meeting your expectations. You haven't even met your own expectations because this is the position you put yourself in. Listen, as always, I'm your host, Sabir Aline. Every Sunday, 10 o'clock, right here. TikTok, back on TikTok. Thank y'all for tuning back in with me. Thank everyone for tuning in. I can't see that far. I can't see a little tiny print, but thank y'all so much. TikTok. I dropped off for a minute. Was in my feelings about some stuff regarding TikTok. Still in my thoughts about TikTok and how they do business, right? Not my feelings about it. Not my feelings about it. I can't function when I'm in negative feelings about a thing. Person, place, or thing. I thank y'all for coming back on, following me and watching. YouTube, Facebook. Thank y'all so much. Stay tuned. There's a lot more coming from Daddy's right here. I'm zoned back in. I'm focused back on the task at hand. Coming with some stuff in Florida. Florida, watch out. Y'all run and tell them. Daddy's right here. Got some new music dropping. Give me a couple weeks. New music. If you've never heard my music before, give yourself a break. Just go to your favorite music streaming platform and type in Sabir Aline. I think I have 53 releases. 5 albums, 53 releases in all. About to drop number 54 in a couple of weeks. I'm still playing in my head with these beats. I've done about 7 beats, maybe 8 beats. This is one of them. I'm just trying to figure out what song I'm gonna let go first. Because every 2 months at a minimum, you'll be getting a release. I'm just not stopping. Hey, it's legacy. If one day it makes money, my family will benefit. Ain't about me. For me, it's about fun. I enjoy doing it. I enjoy doing it. And I don't only enjoy doing it. I put every effort into being better every release. Listen to my first release back in 2021. Listen to my release earlier this year. And you tell me, you be the judge. Did I get better? Thank you all for tuning in. For those of you who are on and I had to cut it off and come back, listen, I see y'all next Sunday too. I'm going to put some clips out after the show ends. give you some, give you some of the end stuff because y'all didn't get the end of the parental alienation list. I'm gonna put that out. But thank y'all for tuning in. Listen, I'm going to see y'all next Sunday. Peace. Hey, those of you who are on Facebook who can access alienforyou.net, the store, the product is there. Go ahead and click on the basket. I forgot to put some of these things up earlier. But yeah, you got some merchandise up there. You can go ahead and take a gander at. Go visit the site. The site, hey, listen, if you haven't been to the website, man, go ahead and check out the website. It's being totally revamped so people can be clear on what it is that a lien for you represents. Yeah. In this place, nuts, berries, and fruits. Yeah, and if you're on another channel, that's why it's really so important as well that you pick up the show on Facebook, because it gives you access to specials, to deals from our alienforyou.net store. So we have flash sales that'll be jumping off. Summertime's about to come in. We have some merchandise that we're going to be putting out. Understand that when we do a feature, there are only 75 of them being made. There will be no more. Listen to what I'm saying to you. You will be the only one of 75 who will have this merchandise. It's a featured product. Right now, our featured product is Twine is Mine. Only 75 of them will be made. 75. No more. Right? So what we have currently are canvas design. We have the sweatshirt and we have the t-shirt with and these are all over print. This is not just something that's on the front. This is an all over print, except for the canvas. We can't do two-side canvas, but all of them are all over prints. There will only be 75 sweatshirts, 75 t-shirts, and 75 wall posters. 75, that's it. I am an artist. You will only be getting 75, and that design is put into the vault. That's it. Will nobody else have it. So make sure you take advantage of that. Make sure you take advantage of the flash sales when you see them online as well. Y'all have a good one. Peace.